Hello and welcome to Wednesday. We have done it. We have completed yet another season of Dragon Ball Z on Blu-ray. That means it's time for the Dragon Ball Z Season 6
recap
review. We call these reviews.
Oh.
If I call it recap now, it'll screw up the entire naming convention. So we just finished watching this. If you're not familiar with the episodes in this, it's basically the Cell games. That's what it is. It's the Cell games. We're going to be discussing this, so spoiler alert. And also, please don't discuss anything further than Season 6 / the Cell games in the comments, since we're still working our way through the series. So first up, Mallory. Can you give your Mallory recap of what happens this season?
It starts with Cell saying, hey, we're going to have Cell games, right?
Yes, which is a point of interest because on the last episode of Season 5 that happened, and you were like, what is going on? So it starts this season with him actually doing the television broadcast.
Yeah, he like breaks in and destroys everything and is like, we're having the Cell games, and if you can take me out, I'm not killing everyone.
Basically, yes. Like, fight me so the Earth can live.
Mm-hmm. And Gohan and Goku come out of the time chamber, and they're like, well, this is what's going on. They're like, Gohan, you guys can go back in for another day and train.
Yep.
And they're like, nah. Well, you think you can beat him? Nah. And then Goku goes and sees Cell.
Yes. To quickly interject, the very arbitrary rules of the hyperbolic time chamber is that you can be in there for 48 hours. Mm-hmm. Don't know why, but that's the rules. So people can train for 2 entire days, but whenever Goku and Gohan come out, they're like, nah, it's alright. I think Gohan is actually confused by that.
Yeah,
I think
he's slightly confused, but he's kind of just going with it.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Goku goes to see Cell, and he's like, oh, and he goes back with his little instant transmission.
Sorry, I'm imagining that's exactly how the episode went. Goku arrives and he sees Cell and he goes, oh. And he just leaves.
And they're like, so, what do you think? And he's like, I can't beat him. And they're like, we're gonna go do stuff. And then they go and they see Korin. And he's like, well, Korin, let me know. And he like channels his energy. He's like, what do you think? And Korin's like, nah.
You can't beat him.
And he's like, okay, cool. So they go back home. And Vegeta trains in there for a while.
And Piccolo trains in there for a while.
And Piccolo trains in there for a while. But,
And this entire time that all of this is going on, Goku and Gohan are just, they're not doing anything.
Yeah, they go back home and they like hang out for a bit and like fish. But everyone's like, Goku, aren't you gonna train? You said you can't defeat him, like what's going on? And Krillin's asking Gohan the same question, like what's your dad doing? And he's like, I have no idea. And Goku's like, I can't win.
And for a while Gohan is like, I think my dad knows like a secret technique or something like that.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He's just bad.
So there's some great episodes of like nothingness.
Yeah.
And Cell sits around, like just stands there in his little Cell arena. And like that's all he does.
Like briefly the army comes.
And like he destroys them all.
Yeah. There's a scene where Goku is actually driving the car and listens on the radio and he's like, no, don't fight them! And then they die.
Is that the point where he instant transmissions up to the lookout and he's like, we need the Dragon Balls?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's right after that because he's like, people die. And he's like, we really need some Dragon Balls.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, what are we gonna do? He's like, well, what if we go to the new Namek planet and get a new Guardian who can, like, make Dragon Balls? So he's, like, trying to figure out how he can instant transmission there, and he can't. So he instant transmissions to King Kai's place, and Kai's like, no, they're over there.
Like, they're right there.
And so then he goes there, and he talks to them, and he's like, oh, we need someone who can make Dragon Balls on Earth. And they're like, here, take Dende. And they, like, make Dende go with him.
Dende will never see you again.
Okay!
And then he leaves.
And they get back to Earth after stopping at King Kai's, and Dende's like, it's gonna take me forever to make new Dragon Balls. And they're like, well, we have these old ones. And he's like, okay, it'll take 2 seconds. So he, like, revives the dragon, and there's, like, an episode or two where Goku gets all the Dragon Balls, and it's, like, super easy to get.
It's changed so much.
Yeah.
The beginning of Dragon Ball, it's like, we're going on this grand quest with all of these perils, and now they collect all the Dragon Balls in like a second. They're like, oh, I think I'll go get it.
Yeah.
We can wish for something every year. It'd be great.
Yeah. So they get them, but they never wish the dragon. And then, is that when the Cell games just happen?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Cell games start, and then everyone prepares to go to Cell. So they all go, and it's already been decided that Goku and Cell would fight first.
Mm-hmm. They agreed on that when he visited him and was like, "Oh shoot, I can't beat you."
When he arrived, and he goes, "Oh."
Yeah, that time. And they get there, and Satan's there. Mr. Satan.
Lucifer himself has shown up for the fight.
Mr. Satan.
Yeah, Hercule Satan.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna win." And then like 2 of his trainees show up, and they're like, "Oh, you don't need to fight this amateur Cell. Let us do it." And they can't even get close. And then Hercule goes eventually, and he can't even like do anything. And he's like, "It's all a trick." Like that's his phrase.
Yeah, the most commonly spoken word in Season 6 is the word trick, which is said approximately 150,000 times by Hercule Satan.
Yeah. So then Goku fights, and he can't beat him. Like, they fight, and they're not doing everything.
And at one point he tricks him with the Kamehameha instant transmission combo.
Yeah.
Because Goku's like, "I'm gonna destroy the Earth, everyone!" And everyone's like, "What are you doing?" And then he's like, "Haha, just kidding!" And then he disappears and he gets close to Cell and does this.
Yeah.
And he kills, like,
most
of Cell. He destroys most of Cell.
But then he regenerates. And then
that's when
Goku's
Goku...
like, "I can't beat you, I give up." But like, in the whole time that's starting to happen and he's starting to reveal he's giving up, Vegeta's like, "Your dad would never do that. He's an honorable Saiyan. Like, he's so honorable, like...
He would rather die."
And then Goku's like, "I give up. Gohan, you fight him."
Yeah. Well, he tells Cell, he's like, "There's someone up there that can fight you," and Cell, like, goes through everyone except Gohan, and then he's like, "My son will fight you." And then everyone's like, "He's gonna die, you fool."
And, like, Goku flies up to Gohan, he's like, "Listen, you got this." And then Gohan flies down there, and he's like, "Alright, I got this." And then Goku's like, "I need a sensu bean." And Krillin's like, "Okay." And he gives it to Goku, and Goku's like, "Alright, Cell, catch."
It's true. He revives Cell under the premise that it would not be fair since Cell is worn out, and Cell graciously accepts. Yeah. And everyone briefly thinks Goku has lost his brains.
I mean, and then Cell and Gohan fight, and everyone's like, "You're killing your son." Like,
yep.
This is...
Yeah, Cell and Gohan have a kerfuffle.
A kerfuffle.
And they're doing okay, but then Gohan is like, "Cell, man,
let me warn you, I figured out why my dad thinks I can beat you.
It's because, like, I'm actually insane, and every once in a while I get really mad, and I'm like, the Hulk, and I'll kill you, man. Don't let me kill you.
Don't make me do this.
Don't make me kill you, man." And Cell's like, "That sounds awesome.
I want to see this."
So then everyone up there is, like, telling Goku that, his son's gonna die, and Cell decides that he's going to try
push
and
Gohan.
Push Gohan.
Mm-hmm.
So he beats the crap out of him.
That doesn't work.
And that doesn't work.
So then he makes like a bunch of mini cells.
Yep.
Like his little baby cells.
He makes Cell Juniors. They pop right out of his butthole. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how he fit so many inside of him, but he did.
And then they go fight the Z Fighters, who can't even do anything with that.
Yeah, Yamcha's there, God bless his soul. I can God.
I mean, to be fair, Yamcha does just as good as, like, Vegeta.
Yeah. They didn't want to spend too much time fleshing that part out, and I understand why, but it's just funny because, like, everyone gets trampled, but the fact that Yamcha's even bothering is laughable.
But, then what?
After they...
Is that when the android head...
Oh, actually, before the Cell Juniors is where Android 16 attempts to detonate.
Yeah.
He attempts to like, grab him and self-destruct. But then there's a flashback, and Bulma's like, "Oh yeah, I removed that bomb. Oops." And then Android 16's like, "Oh no," and then he
Cell
gets killed.
destroys him.
And then after the Cell Juniors come out, that's when Android 16's head is next to Mr. Satan.
Yeah. And he's like, "Mr. Satan, throw me at Gohan."
And then that's his brave thing that he did. Mm-hmm. So he throws it at Gohan, and there's a small monologue, inspirational speech thing where Android 16's like, "Gohan, just, do it, man.
You're a good person, but, sometimes you gotta hurt people."
And Gohan's like, "But I hate hurting people." And Android 16's like, "I'm dead. You jerk. Just kill everyone." And Gohan's like, well, I guess I can. And then the Cell Juniors have pretty much at that point nearly killed everyone. And then Gohan is like, okay. And then he like taps all of them and they explode. And then Gohan fights Cell.
Yes.
And he's finally mad enough to
like take him out. And he almost does. And then Goku's like, do it, take him out all the way. And he's like, no, I want to see how strong I am. And so he lets him regenerate.
I'm too cool for this, Dad.
So he lets him regenerate. Do they fight more then, or is that where Cell's like, I'm gonna blow up?
That's, I think, when he decides I'm gonna blow up.
Decides he's gonna self-destruct.
Oh, well, he regurgitates 18.
Yeah, he does that.
Yeah. Gohan punches him a few times, and then he vomits up 18. But not 17. Just 18. For the plot. So then he decides that he's just going to blow up the entire planet by blowing himself up.
And Gohan's like, I was so dumb.
And everyone's like, you were so dumb.
And Goku's like, I got this. So he instant transmissions next to Cell, and then takes Bomb Cell to King Kai's planet. He's like, oops, I didn't know where else to bring him.
I could think of no other place. So he took him there.
And then he blows up.
He kills Goku.
No, yeah, Goku dies, King Kai dies, Bubbles and Gregory die.
Everyone's dead.
Mm-hmm. And then all the people on Earth are like, yay! And then like the next shot is of like the 4 dead people like flying along Snake Row, and they're like, wait, shouldn't Cell be with us?
Snake Row.
Snake Way.
Okay, yeah, and they're like, where is Cell? And Cell's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cell suddenly appears back on Earth and tells his little story.
He's like, did you miss me?
Yeah, and he's perfect again.
Yeah.
For some weird reason. And he explains that because one individual cell survived, he could regenerate from that.
And then suddenly he learns instant transmission and can get himself back.
Because he blew up and Goku blew up. So their blow-up sludge got all mixed up, and that's how he learned.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, their DNA went like this. Which is also a great way to explain the birds and bees. So after that happens... he instant transmissions, he tells a little story, and then he kills Trunks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get...
Vegeta, like, no, my son.
Yeah, that's the only time, like, in the entire series that Vegeta gives a crap. Except for the one time on Namek where he cried, and he was like, Kakarot!
My dad!
I had a bad upbringing, and Frieza was mean! That was the only other time. So that, yeah, he kills Trunks, Vegeta goes nuts, loses his mind.
Can't do anything.
But they can't do anything. And then in the meantime, Gohan is like, nah, man, we're screwed. And then Goku talks to Gohan using King Kai's back, which is a big satellite, which has been used in other points in the series. And then it's like, Gohan...
You can do this. You got one arm, you can do this.
What are you doing, man? You just gonna give up? You wanna be dead? And Gohan's like, yeah, actually, that'd be pretty sweet. We could hang out. And Goku's like, no, don't do that. Just do it, man. Come on. So then they
launch a Kamehameha at each other.
Yeah, Cell launches a Kamehameha powerful enough to destroy the solar system, and he shoots it, and then Gohan responds, and then we are in this crazy lengthy battle, and that goes on for a long time.
Yeah.
It all happens, I think, in an episode, but the majority of that episode until the rest of the Z fighters and Vegeta like try and distract. Yeah. Everyone joins in even though they know they can't help. Piccolo, Tien, Yamcha, and Krillin start shooting at Cell to try and distract him. It doesn't work. And Vegeta watches them and is like, yo, we're dumb. And then eventually he's like, well, I guess I'll help.
Well, I guess it would be honorable to help or something.
So once he finally helps, that gives Gohan enough time to actually push through and kill Cell.
And then he does.
And then Cell is actually dead. And that is what happens. And then after that... the smoke clears, and
they grab everyone.
The news crew is like, what happened? And Mr. Satan's like, I killed Cell. And they're like, oh, okay. So then that's an entire other thing where he's on TV and having a parade because he saved the world. And then
everyone's gone to the lookout.
They go to the lookout.
Besides Vegeta, who's like gone off to lick his wounds somewhere.
Yes. They go to the lookout, Dende heals everyone, and then...
They bring the dragon out.
Yeah, they call the dragon, and...
They wish for everyone who was killed by Cell to be brought back. And they're like, oh, but we can't bring Goku back. but maybe we could wish the Dragon Balls back on Namek, and then that dragon who can do that sort of thing can bring him back. And Goku uses like Kai, and he's like, no, I'm cool here.
Yeah, Goku actually requests to stay dead, and his reasoning is that every time he's on Earth, like, Earth is screwed because everyone wants to kill him. So he's like, I think I'll just stay dead, and the Earth will probably be safer. And everyone's like, alright, whatever, if that's how you want it.
So they have that second wish. And Krillin's like, well, maybe you could, like, make the android human because I like her. And she's real pretty.
This is like the most ridiculous wish.
And the dragon's like, no man, that's not happening.
I can bring back everyone who died. Millions of people. But I can't turn a robot into a person. What do you think I am?
Then he decides, like, oh, maybe we'll just take the bomb out of her.
Which is something that Bulma has done. He requests it, and Shenron's like, that's easy. Alright, I'm done, bye, see you. Because he was getting pissed. He was actually waiting. He's like, where's the wish? I sleep.
No patience.
What do you think I do? He's probably part of like a bowling team or something, and he's had to get back. Anyway. So yeah, that happens. And then Trunks goes home?
Trunks goes home.
And that's it. He goes home.
Yeah.
And he is now super strong. So he goes home and kills the androids.
In his timeline.
In his timeline, which that's another story entirely. He goes home in his timeline, kills the androids, waits around for Cell to show up. Cell shows up, and Trunks is like, I've been waiting on you. And Cell's like, what? And he's like, I'm really strong. And Cell's like,
no, you're not.
You're not that strong. And then he's like, oh god, yes you are. And then Cell kills Trunks. Yeah, Trunks kills Cell. Thank you. They kill each other. And that's season 6. That is the Cell Game Saga. So, that was the explanation of what happened. What are your thoughts on the saga?
I liked it.
You like, okay. How did it compare to the saga before? Because the saga before is a lot of, like, chasing and cell growing and... It's interesting because that one is, I think, a lot more varied.
Yeah, it is.
Whereas this one...
It's all kind of the same spot.
The entire season takes place in one location.
Mm-hmm. It was nice to see Gohan, like, come into his own and become a man.
Yeah. And I mean, he also, like, physically grows.
Yeah.
Because when he goes into the time chamber, he's pretty short and tiny, and then when he comes out, he's obviously much older. Yeah, I actually agree. Because even though it's taking place in one spot... There's a lot that goes on, and it's weird.
It feels fast.
It does feel fast. The weird, like, long drawn out filler that is in the early seasons of Dragon Ball Z is no longer there. Mm-hmm. Like, it just doesn't occur. Like the we're going to Namek, but we have to make 7 stops along the way and get stuck in an episode, like a planet for several episodes. Like, all that stuff just doesn't exist anymore. There's a few pieces of filler when they're doing it's laid back, we have time, whatever.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's...
Those are fun.
Yeah, and there's really very little filler at all at this point. Like, now it's just story. Even though every episode is in the same place, something is happening. The story, the overall story of them fighting is being progressed in some way, which is refreshing. So it's actually moving on. But yeah, I mean, I really liked it. Like, I actually really liked the season. And I know I said it before, but like I forget now really what's happening, and all this stuff is it feels new, and there's definitely episodes I've just never seen in this, so this is the first time I've actually got to experience the entire thing. So it was really cool. But Vegeta grew a bit because he kind of united with his son. At one point he apologizes to Gohan, which was interesting.
He throws a gang sign. Trunks is leaving. Vegeta's like...
He does
Trunks was like...
He does throw a little gang sign. Yeah, I don't know. It was good. The only thing that was really confusing is that there were some parts throughout this, and then, I guess by association, the last 2 seasons/sagas, where I was really confused by Trunks' timeline. I thought I had it under control, and then things started coming up, and Mal and I were discussing them, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, what's happening? And then it got a little better explained in the final episode, where Trunks was sitting there, and he turned around, and when he turned around, Cell's there, and he, like, kills Cell. But I was still confused, so I had to look it up and learn all about that. But there's 4 timelines, and apparently the way it worked is that every time the time machine was used, a new alternate timeline was created. I'm not going to explain it all here, but if you're interested, you should look it up. But the basics are that, like, the series that you're watching the show is in Timeline 1, and that's where all the crap happens. Future Trunks is from Timeline 2, and then in Timeline 3, that was where Cell is from. And in that timeline, the androids were destroyed for some reason. Is that the timeline where they killed them because they had the blueprints for the remote control and they shut down the androids? Something like that. Anyway, so that's the one Cell's from, and he stole the time machine there to do the... I don't know. It gets really confusing really fast, and I find it a lot easier just to not think much about. It's one of those things like, yeah, it came from the future, got it. But it is there if you're interested in reading about it.
You gonna show off your shirt?
Oh, yeah. So I got a shirt online. It was the shirt was so cheap. I think it was like $7 or $8, and it was free shipping. It was one of the cheapest things I've ever seen, and it's probably like a copyright nightmare. It's also like the gaudiest, possibly ugliest shirt ever. But it was so funny and interesting that I decided that I wanted to get it. So check this out. I'll show off my shirt. It's got pretty much all of the Dragon Ball stuff on it, like every character.
Every character.
Like every character, like silly, ridiculous characters. Even ones that only show up very briefly.
What's his name?
Oh, that's like
Ginyu.
Yeah, Ginyu Goku.
Ginyu Goku.
Yeah, it's basically all these guys. So it was a really ridiculous shirt. And I don't wear anything close to this style of clothing. I don't really know who does, but I saw it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get that just because of its ridiculous factor. So if I can remember, I'll wear these on our season reviews. So having said all that,
yeah.
Moving forward, what's next?
I have no idea.
This is actually a pretty big stopping point, because the last big stopping point was at the end of season 3, where Frieza's dead, no one knows where Goku is, but the Earth's at peace. And then through seasons 4, 5, and 6, it's another thing where like every season ends and there's something big going on. This is the first time where it ends in like, there is no threat, Goku's not around, but also he doesn't plan on coming back.
Yeah.
So that's, a big thing to think about, is like he's just out doing whatever, and I guess at this point it would be very difficult to figure out what happens next, but there's stuff coming. Interesting stuff. And now we are 2/3 of the way through Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
There's 9 seasons.
There's 9 boxes here, and 6 of them are filled up.
Yes. And also, very recently, someone sent us all of Dragon Ball GT on DVD, so we may also be watching that at some point and doing reviews of that. I've never seen that at all. I'm not even really sure what happens in that show, but yeah, maybe we'll take a look at that in the future sometime too. Anyway, you can use this opportunity to discuss anything from the Cell Games saga, and if you'd like to go before that, you can obviously talk about anything before that. Just please don't describe anything after that, because we are still working our way through the show. Or if anyone wants to be brave and try to adequately explain the Trunks timeline, go for it. It's a bit of a head scratcher and it's very hard. The Dragon Ball Wikia has a pretty good summary of it, but like it's even with it written out legibly, like it's so hard to understand, because it's like Cell from 3rd timeline goes back to timeline 1 because of timeline 2's future Trunks did not do the timeline. Like, it's really complex, but good luck. Anyway, long video, but these always are. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Discuss Dragon Ball Z Season 6, and we will see you in the next one. Let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?